Yeah, I'm like every other American. I'm shocked, and I'm holding my breath, and I'm a bit misty-eyed about the whole thing. I don't understand what is happening and how we can get to this point in our country. And I think I speak for a lot of people when I say this cannot be the next iteration of politics in Arizona. This cannot be the next way we handle our presidential elections. We cannot go down the Mexico path, the third world path. This is the United States of America. We don't do that. I'm just I'm clutched because I'm praying that the president is fine, and I'm also praying that the shooter is a one-off and is not reflective of anything else in this country. Because if it is, then God save America. But in the meantime, the fact that the former president appears all right is the sigh of relief for all of us. And now the political aftermath will cascade out for the next few days, and I'm sure it will be tremendous. What will Joe Biden say about this? What will Democrats say? What will conservative people say about this? Where are we as a country that we are down to shooting our presidential candidates? And thank God he apparently is not mortally injured, because I mean, what in the world would that mean for us in the United States? I'm just shocked by the whole thing, and trying to organize thoughts like everyone else. But the main thing I think of is this. I'm praying this cannot be the next level of politics in the United States. We're not going to devolve to some sort of third world backwater. We're the United States of America. Another thought I had is when then President Reagan was shot and gratefully survived, the whole country felt for a moment united. And I don't think President Reagan, the popular man that he was, had any greater moment of love by the American people than when he was found to be okay and was joking in the hospital about his doctor being a Republican or not a Republican. That made the whole country feel great. What we saw today with Donald Trump being apparently grazed by a bullet and then stepping up and pumping his fist is going to be an iconic, historic image that all of us are living through at the moment, and will be in every history book in the United States for many decades to come. It is that kind of moment today in American history that we are suffering. And if the analogy to Reagan holds, if Reagan's popularity was as high as possible for a US president because there was so much gathering and unanimity around our president, then the same political phenomenon may indeed surround Donald Trump. No doubt there are people that don't particularly like him that are witnessing this scene and coming into the knowledge that this is what is happened to him and to America, and is saying enough is enough, and their sympathies are with the man. And it may end up being the kind of thing that has its own unifying component. I mean, forgetting the election, which is 4 months away, it just might have a unifying component, because all people of goodwill in the United States are against what happened today. All people of good civic mind are against what happened today. And no doubt, even Donald Trump's detractors have to come to the rallies and say, have to come to the moment and say, enough is enough. And the sympathy factor for this man is going to be very high, and there might be some sort of unifying moment in the country because of it.
Those are all great points. On the other side, it almost sounds like you're saying this strangely might be a more difficult situation for the sitting president, Joe Biden. What do you do if you're him?
Yeah, putting aside for a moment that it's so good that the former president appears that he's not harmed in any significant way. now the politics will ensue. Now the politics, which is human nature, will just engulf this whole thing. What does the Democratic White House do? What does Joe Biden say? And I'm hoping for the very best out of him. I'm hoping for the very most diplomatic and American moment out of our sitting president. Um, this is an important day for all of us in the United States, an historic moment. It may end up being more important because of how the sitting incumbent president handles the moment. And let's hope he's up to the right kind of honest authenticity and diplomacy and American nature about his comments about this moment. I'm sure he will be, because that is what's needed. And the incumbent president just simply must.
Stan, what about Donald Trump himself and the Trump campaign? How do you handle such a historic situation like this?
Well, in the political playbook of things, there's no chapter for your candidate being nearly mortally wounded by a sniper. And so the politics of promoting Donald Trump, the candidate, will all reset. No doubt his once it's determined he's healthy and of sound mind and sound body, now the strategy can take over in the name of showing the American people who this man is, what he's made of. I I'm trying to remember when there was a more impactful moment in American presidential politics than the moment Donald Trump stood up and pumped his fist with blood all over his face. I I, I can't think of one. And in every other circumstance, in our lifetime, Ronald Reagan, and then going back to when Gerald Ford was shot at but not shot, and then of course President Kennedy, we've just never had the aftermath of the man who's suffered the bullet, signaling to the American people. And it's just hard to overstate what it's going to mean for the average American sitting on the couch and watching the president bloodied but unbowed. It's an incredible historic moment that cannot be overstated.
Stan, the last thing I can ask you, this might be out of your lane a little bit, but you've been around politics enough to know the security challenges involved with these rallies for any candidate or sitting president just must be unfathomable. Just not once, but over and over and over again. How do you keep these people safe?
Yeah, it's amazing to me that these kinds of things don't take place more often, given the free, open society we have. And the Secret Service apparently does a spectacular job in almost every circumstance. The aftermath of today's event will be what happened, and hopefully we'll find out. Because if we don't find out, that will linger as a cloud over all of us, and that question needs to be answered. Experts are already talking about the shots being from far away because of the sound and the sound that it makes when it's made from 100 yards or thereabouts. No doubt the Secret Service is in the midst of not only trying to apprehend, but we'll look back on this and say, what did we do? What do we need to do different? When presidents come through, and when presidential candidates who are former presidents come through, they weld manholes shut in the street, and there are law enforcement lining the high building. How did a sniper, or apparently a sniper, how did a shooter get within an angle of Donald Trump at that rally? That question must be answered by Secret Service.
Stan, when your head hits the pillow tonight, what are you going to be thinking about?
I mean, my breath is short by all this. I mean, I know I speak for many when I say I'm just in a state of civic panic about the whole thing. This can't be. This is not the way we're going to go as Americans. And when we get to reflect on it, I think we will all say, thank God Donald Trump is still alive for all kinds of reasons, for the good of this country. Because if it happened another direction and the shooter would have hit his mark, It is just a way to describe the difficulty in this country that would have ensued. It's already there. We're already on the precipice of some of the most extraordinary challenges in U.S. history against our republic, and the stress test we are under with a former president being shot on live television and miraculously okay is going to be the kind of historic moment that echoes through the ages of American civic life, and starting between now and November.
Stan, really appreciate your insight and thoughts tonight. Have a good night. Thanks.